Welcome to Action News Now on your Thursday. I'm Josh Krupp. Officially kicks off tonight with the Detroit Lions and Kansas City Chiefs. Week 1 of this full NFL season with legal sports betting in Ohio. This is the first NFL season with legal sports betting on the books here in the state. So we're checking in with regulators today to see how things have really evolved over the course of the last 8 or 9 months. In January, Ohio got off to a really rocky start with this new industry. There were a lot of companies who weren't playing by the rules, who were getting a series of fines from the Ohio Casino Control Commission for various reasons, including one violation that happened on the University of Toledo's campus. Whenever there was a Barstool pregame show where they were advertising sports betting before the UT BGSU game, there was a stiff fine handed down for that. Ohio has quickly established itself as one of the more tougher states in the country when it comes to cracking down on bad behavior, whether it's from bettors themselves or whether it is from the actual industry. So we begin our coverage with the spokesperson for the Ohio Casino Control Commission, the regulators who are in charge of making sure that people are following by the rules. And we ask, have things changed? Have companies gotten better since the start of all this?
From when we first launched, we obviously had some issues with some of our operators not following our rules regarding responsible gambling and advertising. And we did have to take some action against a couple of those entities. But since that time, everybody has really improved their compliance and we haven't really seen as many issues.
You hear from some pundits and people who follow the industry that Ohio is a pretty tough one when it comes to regulation. It has gained quite the reputation. I imagine that sits well with the people in your office.
Look, we aim to be firm but fair. A lot of our regulations are based on the law that was passed by lawmakers. And we do take our role in, promoting responsible gambling and ensuring that the controls are there for folks very seriously. And so we really needed the industry to follow suit on that.
What do you expect to see as we get into this first NFL season? I imagine you're going to be keeping a very close eye on things as we start to maybe see betting ramp up. Is there anything particular on your radar and on the radar of regulators?
This is Ohio's first NFL and college football season. So we'll have to see how things go. But I would anticipate that we are going to probably see an increase in, advertising as operators seek to maybe grab some customers that haven't quite maybe joined yet. And we'll also probably see an increase in wagering. But again, we won't know for sure until we start seeing numbers later this year.
What kind of examples do you have of advertisers, or what should people, I guess, be watching for somebody who is breaking the law or the rules? What are you watching for from the regulation standpoint when we do see more of those advertisements in terms of what's legal and what's not?
So the big one is we need to have the helpline number needs to be clear and conspicuous on all advertising materials so that folks know where it is that they can call for information and resources if they need it. And then also, you don't see this as much anymore, but any advertisements that say free or risk-free, that truly has to be free to the consumer. They can't have to wager any of their own money in order to obtain that free wager. So you don't see that quite as much anymore. Many of these companies, obviously, Josh, operate nationally or regionally. And so if their ad runs in Ohio, it has to be compliant with our laws. And so sometimes what you'll see is in order to do that national or regional ad, they may change the wording a little bit. Again, if it runs in Ohio, it has to be compliant.
And looking around our region, Kentucky sports betting launched today. Mobile betting there will launch later this month. It's 18 and over in Kentucky. In Ohio and everywhere surrounding us, it's 21 and over. What challenges does that pose for Ohio regulators? Are you going to be watching Kentucky and trying to message it all to Southwest Ohio as that new state comes online with a younger minimum age?
Yeah, so one of the things that we see, obviously, yes, Kentucky does have some different rules than here in Ohio, but we're here to enforce the laws here in Ohio, and so anything that Kentucky's doing that is a little bit different, obviously, we do know that the most at-risk populations for sports gaming are those younger males, and so we'll have to see. Kentucky does have some money set aside for problem gambling resources and those services. And so we'll have to see as Kentucky joins the list of states with legalized sports gaming, how their industry performs.
The legislature gave the Casino Control Commission the authority to ban bettors who are threatening athletes. How do you see this process playing out, and is that something that the commission is going to explore if there are proven cases where people are threatening college or professional athletes?
So yes, but the important thing to note here, Josh, is there are already existing criminal laws on the books for this kind of behavior. Really, the General Assembly just gave us an additional tool for folks that have been found to be threatening violence against, athletes, coaches, those involved in sports gaming. We just have an additional tool that would allow us to involuntarily exclude them from sports gaming in the state of Ohio. But as our executive director has said, we're not going to be the Twitter police. We're not, here to monitor everybody's social media. There are First Amendment rights that we do need to be mindful of. But the General Assembly has sent a message that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated. And so, like I said, if we do get reports of folks that have taken, legitimate action that is, harassment, threats of violence, those kinds of things, we will take action as needed.
And I'm glad you said being the Twitter police, because that is a difficult part of this, is A, tracking down some people who are maybe doing this anonymously, but B, figuring out that line between First Amendment and threat. So would you take reports from the athletes themselves, or would there be a reporting system? Would you get a bunch of complaints and you would look over them? How do you have an idea of how that process would work?
So again, Josh, there are existing laws already on the books that involve, harassment and, threatening folks, whether it's in person or using something like, Twitter, Facebook, those kinds of things. And so if we get, credible reports of folks doing that, obviously we will take a look at it. But again, we're not going to be out there looking for folks that might have a post where they're obviously upset about, the performance of a team or a specific athlete. So again, we're not here to monitor everybody's Facebook, and there are existing laws on the books here that can also help with these kinds of situations.
Gotcha. So I'll leave you with this, your message to regulators and for bettors here, new and experienced ones, as we enter this football season, about following the rules and what the Casino Control Commission will do if rules aren't followed.
No, we're in the day-to-day regulation. We're again making sure everybody's following all of the rules and regulations. For bettors, we encourage everyone to do so responsibly. There is Ohio's Pause Before You Play. There's a quiz that folks can take to see if maybe they're starting to be impacted by their gambling habits, as well as a ton of information and resources and the help that is available for those that may want to do that.
Jessica Franks from the Ohio Casino Control Commission joining us on Action News Now. She's talking about all those resources available. They're right here on the Casino Control Commission's website. She was talking about Pause Before You Play. There's Timeout Ohio, all of that available here. You can also head to our website, 13abc.com. Scroll down to the bottom of this story. We'll have it linked there as soon as this broadcast is over, if you or somebody you know needs help with problem gambling. Hey, more coverage of this story and more coming up in just under 2.5 hours on Action News at 4. We hope to see you then on 13 Action News. For all of us here at 13 Action News, I'm Josh Group saying farewell from Toledo.